Lake Elsinore, California definitely has its own sets of advantages and also disadvantages. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about both. I'm going to be going over the pros and the cons of living in Lake Elsinore, California. Really deep diving, digging whether or not if Lake Elsinore is a place for you to call home. So stay tuned because we're going to get after it right now. Now, if this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything that there is about living, eating, breathing, playing in the beautiful city of Lake Elsinore, California, then subscribe below and tap that bell for notification. Now, my name is Jonathan. We get calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you looking to make their move, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're deciding to move in 9 days, maybe 90 days, or even 900 days, you can always give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. We'll love to help you make that smooth move to Lake Elsinore, California. Now, if you've seen my previous video of Lake Elsinore where I did my vlog tour video, I've done my Google map tour video, and I've also already done a pro and con video of Lake Elsinore. Now, I want to kind of more expand on the pro and cons because there's things that are always changing constantly with time, and there's something that you need to know, right? With Lake Elsinore, some things that, you know, could be possibly potentially better or potentially worse. Well, that's what I'm really just going to be talking about today. Some of the things that's kind of more or less changed or that you're really going to see that can potentially be great for you and the family. Now, if you haven't really, if you don't know much about Lake Elsinore, it is, yes, there is a lake. Okay, there's a lake in Lake Elsinore. If you don't know, well, now you do. Well, there is a lake and you can do some activities within the Lake Elsinore community. You can go boating, you could go fishing, and also recreational activities. Now I'm going to say this about Lake Elsinore. It is a very friendly community for the outdoors. If you're an outdoor enthusiast or someone that just loves to go out and about, when I say out and about, I mean out in Mother Nature. All right. There's a lot of options for you. And I'm not just saying that to say that. I'm saying if you like to bike, if you like to hike, right? If you have an ATV or UTV or, a side-by-side or a little motocross bike, there's a spot for you because Lake Elsinore has a motorsports park, which is really cool. It's one of the few cities here in Southern California that has that available, which is really nice. And if you're an adrenaline junkie and you want to go skydiving, that's another big plus that Lake Elsinore has for you, is that you can go skydiving, right? Now, I know that's not everyone's forte, and that is perfectly okay. Maybe you're kind of more of an indoor person where you just like to chill, watch a movie, eat some popcorn. I love that too. And yes, there's options for that. Now, one great thing about Lake Elsinore, it's not a big city whatsoever, but at the same time, it is not a small city. There's a lot that it gives for, how big it really is, right? It doesn't have a huge population, over 100,000 people like the surrounding cities of Temecula, Marietta, and maybe even Menifee, right? And on top of it, let's also not forget about Corona, right? So it is surrounded by bigger cities, but it has more to offer, or not more similar items to offer. Like, hey, did you know Lake Elsinore has its own Costco, right? It has its own Walmart. It has its own Target. It has the Lowe's, right? All the big major brands and supermarkets that all the other surrounding cities have that are significantly larger, almost 2 times larger than Lake Elsinore. Well, Lake Elsinore also has that. And let's not forget all the outdoor cool things that come along with living in Lake Elsinore, right? And the convenience of its location is not so bad whatsoever either. Right off the I-15, you can either go, north up, hit that 91, and go to Orange County into the beach cities, or you can go to Los Angeles, right? Or you can go south to San Diego, or maybe you just want to kind of leave the mainland and go to the Santa Catalina Island, right? You can also do that. Now, if you haven't been there, definitely check that out. Catalina Island is pretty bomb, all right? But no, those are options that you can do within the Lake Elsinore community. All that is a fairly close area. Within a 2-hour radius, you can be in all these places just because where it's geographically located, not to mention all the things that it does have. Now, I don't want to dig too much into it without, spilling all the beans of the pros and cons. So let's really just jump into pro number 1. All right, so pro number 1 of living in Lake Elsinore, California, and I'm just gonna straight go to it. It is the affordability that comes with living in Lake Elsinore. No, I know what you may be thinking. Jonathan, you're a clown. You're funny for saying it's affordable. Well, yes, it is. For the Southern California region, Lake Elsinore is actually really affordable compared to other similar cities of its size and the surrounding area. Right now, if you're from the Midwest or maybe the South and you're paying like $3 in a sack of potato for rent, no, you really can't compare. Now, however, here in Southern California, you definitely can, all right, because it is affordable in not every all, but pretty much in all aspects, right? Whether it comes to housing, foods and services, groceries, it is a little bit more affordable, and that is one big major reason that people tend to move to Lake Elsinore. And so that's going to cover pro number 1. Moving on to pro number 2. Now, pro number 2, it's kind of going to mix into what I just told you prior to, but that is natural beauty. It does have a beautiful scenery, and I'm not just saying that to say that. Does have the beautiful scenery. If you ever go up in the mountains through Ortega Highway and you're coming back down the mountain and you see Lake Elsinore, you're just like, wow, it is amazing. So if you have that significant other, you want to show them a nice little, place that has like a cool sunset type of vibe, right? And it's really romantic. That's a spot, Jonathan knows what he's doing, No, I'm just kidding. But no, at any rate, yes, it does have natural beauty. And I'm not just saying like, hey, you have a nice lake view. It's the beautiful mountains that surround it that also gives it that nice authenticity and like, wow, like this is great. So that's another big major thing of Lake Elsinore. If you're one of those that, hey, if you're looking to retire, or if you're not, you just want a view, you can get one within Lake Elsinore, California. So moving on to pro number 3. Pro number 3 of living in Lake Elsinore, California, and that is going to be the climate. All right, so I've say this like time and time again, the climate in Lake Elsinore, well, in Southern California, depending on where you live, it's actually really good. You have that Mediterranean style type of climate where it doesn't get too hot, but it doesn't get too cold. Now there's exceptions, right? Like last year, for example, we had like a blizzard. For whatever reason, California got hit, right? And it snowed in Lake Elsinore and all the little surrounding cities, but also we do occasionally get heat waves, right? Now, I don't even know what those people are called that do the Weather Channel and all that stuff, but at any rate, I can't predict anything, but overall, the climate is actually really great in Lake Elsinore, so that's one big major plus. Moving on to pro number 4. Pro number 4 of living in Lake Elsinore, that is going to be growth and development. Now, I said last year, in one of my videos when I was talking about Lake Elsinore, there's not a whole lot going on with expansion, but, I kind of revisited Lake Elsinore. I'm kind of seeing what they're doing. There is a lot of growth and development. They're starting to build a little bit more communities in the area. Like currently off the I-15, there's a brand new community being built of homes, and they're trying to expand. What better to do with Lake Elsinore and help the community grow overall, because it is a nice community and there's a lot that it does have to offer. So hey, why not make it grow and develop into a nice, beautiful city that everybody talks about and how it really should be. So that's one big major thing, is that there is growth and development within Lake Elsinore. And if you go to the city website, they talk about all the plans that are in the works currently that they plan to do to make the city even better. So that is going to cover pro number 4. I'm going to move on to pro number 5 now, and your final pro of living in Lake Elsinore, California. Pro number 5, I kind of already spilled the beans, but this is proximity to major attractions. Now, what do I mean proximity to major attractions? Well, if you really look on the map, it's kind of centered in between a lot of major popular attractions that people love to go to, i.e. maybe Disneyland, right? A lot of people love Disneyland, the happiest place in the planet or the world or whatever, the universe, however they want to look at it. Yes, Disneyland, right? You also have to the south of you have Legoland, or maybe you're not into those type of things and you want to go to the zoo or SeaWorld. Well, you have 2 zoos. You have the Safari Park in San Diego, and you have the actual just zoo, regular zoo park in San Diego. also SeaWorld, right? But then you have aquariums as well. Then you have Knott's Berry Farm, Universal Studios, Six Flags, right? Catalina Island. I can go on and on and on about all these tourist locations that are fairly close, you know, to Lake Elsinore, California. It's not that you're living too south where you're in San Diego and you have to drive like 3 hours or 2.5 hours to go to Six Flags, right? Or you're living all the way up in LA and you have to drive, you know, the 2 to 3 hours to go down to the zoo or Legoland, or vice versa. So that's one of the big major things. It's kind of right dead in the center of both big counties that do host all these major popular attractions. So that's gonna cover all our pros right there. Now let's move on to your veggies so I can give you your con number 1. Con number 1, and I'm just gonna be straight, it's traffic and commuting. Now, if you know anything about the Inland Empire, we are working on the infrastructure here so much. All right, the I-15 can get congested. Now, if you're, you know, living in Lake Elsinore, more than likely you're probably gonna have to commute. It's just bottom line, and that's gonna go into my con number 2, which I'll get in there. But yes, traffic and commute can get pretty bad. Traffic congestion is a real thing, so know that if you're working down south, kind of towards San Diego, coming up that I-15, you're gonna be hitting some traffic, especially during that peak hours. Same goes if you're working up a little bit north, coming down from Corona, you're gonna be hitting that traffic. And so there's some people that take Ortega Highway through the mountain to try to avoid that north and south traffic. However, you know, there's not really much avoiding unless you have a flying car, which I heard they're going to be releasing in 2026, just FYI to keep that out there. Now that is going to cover con number 1. Moving on to con number 2, to piggyback off what I just said on con number 1, that's going to be limited job opportunities. All right, so that's what I was saying. More than likely you're going to be commuting south or north to, you know, go work at your office or wherever you work at, unless you're remote, right? There is limited job opportunities. However, that's something that is in the works again. So with that growth and development plan, hopefully we see more jobs come into Lake Elsinore, California. However, currently there is a limited job market in Lake Elsinore. So for those of you looking at make that relocation to Lake Elsinore, just make sure you're keeping your eyes open for all that information there. Now let me move on to con number 3, your final con of living in Lake Elsinore, California. Con number 3 and your final con, and that is going to be education. Right now, given that some families vary with education in Lake Elsinore, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's kind of mediocre, right in the middle. It's how I like to just plain out call it, and that's how I see it, and that's what statistics show. So yes, if you're looking to relocate to Lake Elsinore, know that the education is not superb, right? You're not getting those highly awarded schools like Temecula and Marietta, right? You're just kind of getting mediocre type of schools. Now, again, it varies from location to location depending on where you live in Lake Elsinore itself. That's just something that I want to be very transparent up front, because that's one big major thing, especially if you do have those kiddos, right, and you're looking for them to have a great public education system. Well, there you have it. It is kind of mediocre, but I'm not saying that the city of Lake Elsinore is not working to improve it, because they always are, right? And so props to the city of Lake Elsinore. That is right there going to cover all the pros and all the cons of living in Lake Elsinore, California. Hopefully that gave you some clarification of whether or not if Lake Elsinore is the place for you, right? Given, you know, the change that Lake Elsinore recently has had, and, you know, the things that they got going on, overall, I firmly believe Lake Elsinore is a good spot to move in. I have plenty of my clients and plenty of my friends that have relocated to Lake Elsinore because whether it is affordable or maybe the location is just awesome, right? So that's one big major thing is, hey, I've seen Lake Elsinore through the good and the bad, majority of the good, but there's some sweet spots within Lake Elsinore that you definitely want to check out, right? As long as you can get over some of that commute and traffic, that'll be perfectly okay. And if you can try to find a good job in the nearby area, that'll be perfect, right? And then education is one of those things that, hey, you know, you're gonna have to really look for it to have a better education system for your kids and or for yourself, if that's, you know, who's looking to make that move. But overall, I give Lake Elsinore B+ when it comes to living in Lake Elsinore. That's my personal opinion, so, you know, you can take that as you want. Now that is going to cover all for this video. Thank you for watching Living in South California.